So this is the design of our F22 Raptor, and we'll be printing it on a A4 size paper, and then we'll use it as a stencil to cut on the Depron foam sheet. So here I took all the prints, and now we'll assemble this print and stick it with the sellotape. So here is our complete stencil. So we need to cut all these cutouts. So this one is the main one, so I did it first, and now we'll use the Depron foam sheet. So I'm using a 3mm Depron foam sheet. So we'll stick this cutout on this sheet and then we'll cut it. You can see I have also cut the inner locks and also the propeller vent. So now I have wrapped this whole foam sheet with the sellotape, so it will be more durable. So similarly I have cut all the pieces according to the design of our F22 Raptor. So till you do this, let's look at the sponsor of this video that makes PCB designing very easy and fast. You can share your PCB designs with a click to your teammate, and they will receive an email with the link where they can easily view the designs using the browser and comment the reviews and corrections on the project itself. Ultimate 365 is a full build package and requires no additional licenses. So this one is the bottom part, and I have wrapped it with the sellotape from one side, and from the other side you can see the marking. So we'll cut this marking only 50%, and after giving a little pressure you can see it bent properly. So now we have to cut this at a 45-degree sideways angle. And we need to stick like this. You can see that it gets properly fitted on the main base. Similarly, you need to follow all these steps for all these cutouts. With all these cutouts, we'll assemble the body of our RC plane. Make sure you stick this vertical stabilizer at a proper angle for both of them, and you can take help of this cutout. So we'll cut 50% for the tail. Make sure you don't cut so deeply that it will break the tail. So do it very lightly, and we'll also cut it from the center, and the center cut will be proper 100% cut. And now with a little pressure you can bend this tail. So now it's working smoothly. So now after finalizing the design, we'll stick it with the hot glue. So now you can see the foam model is completely ready. So let's check the weight of this model. So these weighs around 59 grams, and that's great. Next you will need is all the electronics. So we are using 2300 kV BLDC motor. This is a 30 ampere ESC. and with this motor we are using 5-inch propellers. This is a motor mount. This ready motor mount didn't fit my plane properly, so I 3D printed my own with the proper size and dimensions. So now this one fits properly, so I can stick it very well. Next you will need is a servo motor. You can use 3.7 gram servo motors, or even you can use a 9 gram servo motor as I am using. These are the RC plane horns. I 3D printed this. You can even purchase it from the market. So these are the 2-pin and the 3-pin plug. So we are using the connectors of this plug. So we need to remove it and even cut the little portion of this connector. Next you'll need is a transmitter. So I am using FlySky i6X, and we also get a 10-channel receiver with it. So I will not be using this 10-channel receiver. I will be using a 6-channel receiver which I already had. So in the video I'll also show you how to bind this. Next you'll need is a 11.1 volt LiPo battery. This is 850 mAh LiPo battery, and you'll also need a LiPo charger. This is 1 mm rod which I found from an old umbrella. You can even use bicycle spokes. So this is the motor which I will be using. It's a 2300 kV motor from Ready to Sky, and I'm using this 30 ampere Simon ESC. So now I'll show you how to bind a 6-channel receiver with this transmitter. So if you are using a 10-channel receiver which comes with the transmitter, so you don't need to do any settings, but I'm using a 6-channel, so I will do some settings. So now we'll turn on this transmitter and go to settings by long pressing this button. We'll go to system settings, and here we'll select the model. So model 1 is already set, 2 is already set, 3 is an empty, so we'll select model 3. Next we'll go to RX setup. Here we'll go to RF standard, which is the first option, and here we need to select yes. So we are changing it to AFHDS mode. So to save this we need to long press the cancel button. So this will save it. So again we'll cross check it if it's saved or not. So yes, it's saved. So you can see here AFHDS. So this is properly saved. So now we'll turn off the transmitter, and now we'll bind the 6-channel receiver. So for this you need a battery, a ESC, and motor for testing. And the main thing is this binding wire which you will get with the transmitter and the receiver. So we'll connect this bind wire to the battery port. Next we'll connect is this ESC wire, and we are going to connect it to the channel 3. So everything is ready. So first we'll connect the battery to the ESC, and it will give power to the receiver. So you can see a red LED is blinking constantly. So now in the transmitter you need to press and hold this bind button which is in the bottom over here, and by pressing and holding it you need to turn on the transmitter. So you can see it's showing RS binding, and you can see the blinking LED goes to solid. And now you need to leave the bind button and turn off the receiver first and then the transmitter. So now we'll remove this binding key, and we'll just keep the ESC wire at the channel 3. Again we'll power on the ESC, and then we'll power on the transmitter. So you can see it's binding correctly. So now we'll little move the throttle stick on the upward direction and you can see the motor starts spinning. So it means we have binded the receiver successfully. So now we'll screw this motor with the motor mount. You can use the screws provided with this motor. So now we'll stick all the electronics into our RC plane. We'll use hot glue for this. So now we'll stick the servo motor on the bottom side. Here I have increased the diameter of the last hole of this servo horn, so we can connect these 2-pin connectors so it can rotate freely. And I am also adding few drops of the super glue so it will fix it permanently. Now we'll connect the servo horn to servo motors, and on the tails we'll connect the RC horns, and it's also connected with the 2-pin connectors. Make sure you do the proper alignment. And after connecting the servo horns, we'll connect this 1 mm rod. So I have taken a piece of this rod about 10 cm, and now we'll pass this rod through both of these connectors and we'll tighten the screws. Make sure the tail and the main frame are on the same level. Similarly, I have did it for the other side as well, and now these are proper fit. Now we'll do the wiring connections. We'll connect the servo motor to channel 1 and channel 2, and the BLDC motor will be connected to the channel 3, that is the ESC wire will be connected to the channel 3. So after finalizing everything, I have stick all the electronics and wires with the hot glue so it will be fixed permanently, and I also connected the tri-blade propeller, that is the 5-inch propeller, with the motor. I have connected this battery strap over here so we can fix the battery inside it. So this is a 3D printed casing for my battery, so it will protect my battery after some crashes. And on the other side you can see I have passed 2 metal rods from the strap, so it will give a nice fix. Now we'll check the center balancing of this RC plane. So I have marked the center point of this plane on the base and I am balancing it with a pen. So you can see the plane is balancing very accurately and it's very proper with the weight management. With all the electronics, the weight of this plane goes to 274 grams, so which is quite good. Now I'll show you the transmitter settings. So we'll power on the transmitter, we'll go to the settings. So now we'll go to setup, and here we'll go to the aileron. Here we need to turn on the aileron. So by doing this, we can control both the servo motors all together. Next you will need to go to reverse, and you need to reverse any of one channel from 1 and 2. So I am reversing the channel 1. So you have to do it according to your connections. So now this settings worked for me. If it's working opposites, then you can reverse the channel 2. So you can see when I pull the stick down, the tail moves up, and when I pull the stick up, the tail moves down. And this is how the left and right works. Now I'll explain you how this aircraft flies. So as soon as you increase the speed of the motor, it will give thrust to our RC plane and it will catch the speed to move ahead. As you pull down the right stick, it will move the tail in the upward direction, and when the air hits the tail, it will lower down the back body of it will take to an angle which will help the RC plane to fly high in the sky. Similarly, as you pull up the stick, it will lower down the tail, and as soon as the air hits the tail, it will raise the back body of the plane and the plane will start landing. And for the left and right rotation, one of the tail will move on the upside and one will move on the downside. So this will rotate the plane on left or the right direction. So this one is the first flight clip, and I was very bad with the controls. Initially the plane take off properly and I was able to control it very nice.